This is Honda's new CRV. It comes in 4 trims, so you get 2 trims per powertrain. And today we're going to break down the highlights, both good and bad, for this new CRV. So thanks to our friends at Rust Arrow Honda for letting us do that. Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt. Today we're here spending time with Honda's new CRV. Another way of saying that is one of the best-selling and most important cars in Honda's lineup. So they better have made sure that it's a smash. But did they? That's what we're here to find out. We're going to cover the best and the rest, starting with the rest. We're going to start with the interior, and there are a few things to note, so I've kind of lumped them all into one list. Ready? There's no option for a head-up display. There's no cooled seat option. There's no heated rear seat option. There's no pano roof option, and there's no 360 camera option. And the biggest that you can get for a digital cluster is just about half, which is surprising because the Civic Touring gets the full 8-inch digital display. And these aren't things that I just arbitrarily decided that I wanted in the CRV. No, these are things that are present in other competitors that aren't here on this Sport Touring top trim, most expensive CRV. Number 2 is it seems like there's a missing powertrain. This one's a big mystery to me because I know they have it in their lineup overseas. It's a plug-in hybrid. The CRV gets a 1.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which is big enough to add power and act as the normal hybrid system that we have here. However, competitors like the Tucson, the RAV4, the Sportage, they all get PHEV options to help bridge the gap as we move towards EV. Honda have even said that they expect 50% or more of new CRVs to be sold as hybrids. So why not offer that next step between internal combustion and electric? Where's the plug-in? And then number 3 is towing. The CRV maxes out with 1,000 pounds worth of towing capacity, which doesn't seem like a lot. However, in fairness, this week we're also spending time in the Toyota BZ4X, which is the fully battery electric, I guess you could call competitor to this thing. And Toyota goes all the way out and says, we don't recommend towing with this thing at all. So I guess 1,000 pounds, it's not too bad. And number 4 is fuel economy. Now you get 40 mpg city and 34 mpg highway, which on the face of it sounds pretty good. However, when you compare this year, 2023 CRV hybrid all-wheel drive versus the 22 CRV hybrid all-wheel drive, you actually get 1 mpg less. Now this new CRV is bigger, it's more spacious, it's more geometric, maybe less aerodynamic, and that could be why, but going into a new generation of car, last thing I want to see is less fuel economy, Honda. And then we start to talk about the price delta between last year and this year. Now there's a jump in price of about $400, which isn't unheard of. You're getting a brand new face, a brand new interior, getting a totally new generation of car. That seems to make sense. However, what doesn't make sense to me is that $400 represents an all-wheel drive hybrid CRV versus what comes standard here is a front-wheel drive hybrid CRV. So you then, to make it equal equipment, have to option $1,500 worth of the all-wheel drive system, which makes it $1,900, almost $2,000 more spec for spec from last year. The silver lining is the fact that this is still more affordable than a RAV4 hybrid and a lot better looking. And the 6th and final thing I don't love is the fact that it seems like they're almost pushing you into the hybrid. The hybrid version, the Sport and Sport Touring here, is better looking. It's got better wheel options, it's more powerful, it's got more performance, and it's more efficient. Of course, you're going to pay more money for that, but it just kind of seems comprehensively more desirable than the EX and the EXL. Now I know when Honda rolled this new CRV out, they were saying that they were targeting about 50% take rate for the hybrid version of the CRV. I just kind of wish that it was more compelling and easier to justify getting the less powerful, less good looking, less interesting internal combustion 1.5 turbo CRV. But there's a lot to like about the new CRV, so let's talk about that. Number 1 is the looks. This thing looks the business in the right trim, as we just mentioned. The EX and EXL aren't quite as handsome, but the Sport and the Sport Touring here specifically look the business. You have a super clean and modern new design. You've got black accents, you've got a bold grille, you've got a silver lower valence accenting on your front and rear. You've got LED headlights, you've got upgraded 19-inch black wheels, and you've got a clean, boxy profile design with chrome accenting and brightwork. The rear end looks kind of Mazda with the taillights, and that's a great compliment. The wheelbase is up about 1 inch, and the total length is up over about 3 inches. Needless to say, from a styling perspective, I'm a fan. Number 2, the trunk is huge. Now, last year's CRV already had a pretty huge trunk. In fact, I think it was either segment leading or very close to being so. And this year's trunk is even bigger than that. And of course, you can fold your rear seats 60/40. The downside is that the seats no longer fold completely flat. There is a little bit of a hump back there, but it is still a huge cargo area. There is one more weird thing though. Under your floor, you usually have a little cubby for additional storage or hidden storage, and you can't rip the floor up to get to that additional storage in this CRV. A little bit odd. And then I really like the cabin design and the dash design of this new CRV, which is essentially like saying I really like the design of the new HRV and the Civic and the Pilot and the new Accord, because, well, they're all basically the same. You've got a really clean design with honeycomb vents. You've got a 9-inch infotainment screen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, of course in the right spec. Annoyingly though, you only have half the cluster being digital, unlike you would get in the Civic and the Pilot and the Accord, which get full digital clusters. You do get physical climate controls, which I really like, and it's just a nice design mixed with nice features and practical storage. The gauge cluster thing is a little bit weird, but overall I really like the look of the interior here. And then, I know I just talked about this, but I really like the physical climate controls that you get here. So many cars nowadays are going to baking in the climate controls into your infotainment system here. Maybe they're buried under a menu or two. The Chevy Colorado that I was just in California testing last week had the headlight controls in your infotainment system after like 2 or 3 clicks, and then you could adjust it. So it's really nice to have it outside of the system with a physical knob that you can just adjust on your own, and it falls right to hand without even having to look. And then we start to talk about the rear seats, and these, just like the trunk, were already either segment leading or damn near with the last generation, and they're even bigger for this generation. The legroom is fantastic. The headroom is great. You've got nice leather, nice stitching, climate vents, chargers, map pocket. The only ding that I would have for it is that it doesn't have a panoramic roof bringing more light into this black back seat, but as far as space and comfort goes, this CRV is tough to beat. Number 6 is power and performance. Now on paper, it sounds like this generation has actually lost power from the previous generation. However, that's not exactly true. What happened was Honda decided that they were going to change the way that they calculate horsepower, which in and of itself is a bit of an eyebrow raiser, but just hang with me here. But based on the new way that they calculate power, which is applied to this car, the last generation car makes 201 horsepower. So this making 204 horsepower, yes, the increase is marginal, but it's an important distinction from going from losing power to gaining power with a new generation of car. Now, 204 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque working in tandem, and a combined output from the 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder and the 2 electric motors means that this thing jumps to 60 in about 7.4 seconds, whereas the 1.5 turbocharged non-hybrid version of this new CRV takes closer to 9 or 10 seconds to get to 60. So noticeably more performance and quickness from this hybrid. Number 7 is ride and dynamics. The CRV has never really been super luxurious or isolated in terms of its cabin refinement. It's the same chassis as the Civic, but unlike the Civic, this is a jacked up, taller SUV. That means the dampers have to be a little bit firmer. That means there's more wind noise coming into the cabin. It means that it won't corner quite as well. But with all that said, I don't mind the ride. It's smooth enough, the steering is fine, there's a little bit more road noise coming in than I might like, but overall, it's still a great place to bop around and commute in. So that's it, that's the best and the rest with this new Honda CRV. There are a lot of pros and there are a couple weird cons. For one, not having a plug-in hybrid option seems really strange. And then all of those little interior bits and bobs and features that we mentioned at the very beginning. They just seem like base hits that Honda didn't really swing at. But overall, when I look at this, I'm still very impressed. In terms of space, comfort, practicality, and just easy to live with, it's really hard to argue against this new CRV. So thanks again to Russ Darrow Honda for letting us have a go so we could take a look. We'll see you in the next one.